Groove City.
Yo, what's up? I'm Lefty.
And I'm Rich Furniss, and welcome to City.
That's right. Welcome back for another episode. Today, we are very excited to bring someone we have been watching for a good while now. Nasty producer, nasty DJ, big energy. Please make some noise for Malcolm Zeller. How you been, man?
I've been good. Just, making things happen little by little. So
nice.
Yeah.
Glad to hear it. Got to catch you at Raw Cuts. That was a phenomenal set.
it was fun.
That was a lot of fun.
I
Yeah.
actually hit the playback on that one.
Yeah, same.
Really?
Yeah,
sick.
It was really good. That was a really good night all around.
Thank you. I'm glad you guys liked it. Because
That was
I think you were there as well, right?
Yeah, I was there.
Sick.
Half of me was there anyway. I wasn't there entirely, but I was there for the most
Yeah, I
part.
feel.
Yeah, sweet dude. So, are you born and raised here in New York City? Just to go into the very beginning stages of life.
Yeah, so
The origin story.
I was I was born in San Francisco, but
nice.
all my family's from New York, and my family moved back here when I was like 2. So basically born and raised in New York, grew up my
Nice.
whole life in the Upper West Side.
Okay.
Now I live in Hell's Kitchen, but I went to elementary, middle, and high school here. So
Wow. Nice.
How do you think growing up in New York, such a diverse musical, city, kind of developed you as a musician, as an artist, and all that?
well, I think my journey to house music was entirely a factor of growing up in New York.
For sure, hell yeah.
There's so much house music history here. I grew up not too far from Central Park, and every Saturday and Sunday, there's like the roller dance skaters from 2 to 6 p.m., like just old school, like they're always playing house music. So I was always just surrounded by stuff like that. And then I grew up like training in dance as well at like the Alvin Ailey School, which was like a lot of house music influences as well there.
Really?
Yeah.
Performative dance.
Yeah. Like,
Was that your like origin into music in general? Was more
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
dance
it
side?
was.
Oh, sick.
And my parents like play instruments, and they had me like in like casual lessons on piano and stuff when I was young, but mainly what like sparked the music interest was like through dance.
That's amazing. So you got pretty serious into that.
Yeah. I was doing it for 15 years. So.
What styles did you do?
Did everything. I did ballet, contemporary, West African, a style of Horton called modern. I did Lamone. I did hip hop, tap, like literally everything.
Some of my favorite DJs and producers came from a dance background. And funny story, I started DJing when I was about 15. My mom's like, cool, like I will support this adventure for you, but if you're gonna be a DJ, you have to take dance lessons. So she made me take ballet, swing, hip hop, and like contemporary like style dance, and I had to do it for like 2 years. And she's like, cool, if you're gonna be a DJ, you have to learn how to dance. And that was actually part of my origins as well.
I don't know if you know Mochak, but he grew up like doing like breakdancing and like, that kind of hip hop side of stuff.
I can see that for sure.
But it still helps with like the stage presence, So,
Yeah, facts.
We need to get some dance content from you out there.
Yeah, definitely.
Bring
Hit
it
him with
on.
them TikTok bops.
That'd be sick. I had to take some forced ballroom dance classes when I was younger.
Oh, I can see
And
that.
Really?
I love.
Classy gentleman, sir.
I was, yeah. I used to tear up that waltz, bro. Forget it. I'd be all around the room.
I never actually did ballroom, but
Yeah.
I did a little bit of ballroom, and it was always cool because I was like one of like maybe 2 or 3 guys in those classes. So it was always just like I always got picked as the partner. I felt,
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was of course like way more girls than guys, and because of that, there was like at the school I trained at, there was always like a scholarship for guys.
Oh, dope.
Just like by default, it was pretty much free the whole time I was
Wow.
training. So super lucky, but.
What finally made the transition into DJing? I'm gonna assume, and I don't know if this is true. This is good for me because I actually don't know. You a producer first or DJ first?
Yes, producer first.
Okay.
And what happened was like I was listening sort of to EDM. I got into it. Like I think I heard Martin Garrix's Animals on the radio when that came out in 2013. I was 9.
Nice.
And like
That
that.
just made me feel old as hell.
I know what we were getting into, so I already felt old as hell.
But that kind of like sparked the interest into electronic music in general. And then it just kind of grew over time. And I'm like a naturally curious kid, so I started like, looking like on like the computer, like at like GarageBand and stuff, and it just kind of all came together. And then with like the dance background and the exposure to more like proper like house music, that sort of like shaped my music taste. But it kind of grew simultaneously when I was like 9, 10, 11 years old, just started to grow. And then during the pandemic, the dance school was shut down, like, and I had no like school at all, you know. So it really just gave me a lot more time to like specifically focus on music, and I always like knew that it was something that I was interested in doing as a career. I always considered like either going down like the professional dance track or the music track, and both of those were like a lot of traveling and a lot of performance and very musically integrated things. So music just kind of started to become more prominent in my life than dance. And additionally, like I'm someone that's really fascinated by like different languages and cultures, and especially growing up in New York, you know, you have all these neighborhoods with such incredible food from like all over the world.
Yeah, of course.
And so it just kind of all came together into this one thing, and it gave me very specific goals, and yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I had no idea. That's
Yeah,
so cool.
dope. So maybe if the pandemic never happened, you would have been on a totally different path. If you didn't have that
Potentially,
break.
yeah. Because I think what happened for me during the pandemic was like I really focused on releasing music, and also even before that, just getting my music to like a quality standard of like what I was hearing on Spotify. You know, just like really making things sound good. Just you know, like nailing down my skills. Yeah. But yeah, I was 14 when the pandemic hit, or 14 or 15. And then just over that like 2 years, I started just self-releasing and like looking into promo, and like because I always really wanted to play shows, and I had no idea how. Obviously, I was underage. Like there was not much I could do just DJing wise.
I was gonna ask about that. Have you had any trouble getting into gigs that you've been booked for being under 21? You're not 21 yet, are you?
No, I'm 19.
19, right? Yeah. So
yeah,
could still happen.
well, at the yeah, true. But at the beginning, it was like very obvious that I couldn't really go out and network at all. I couldn't get gigs just by being a DJ. So it was a situation of like I had to make music, and I knew that like if I had a brand that was big enough, like it didn't really matter how old I was. So that sort of kicked off the music track, and then like as I started to get a little older, more like 16, 17, 18, like I started figuring out a way into these events and networking, and started getting some gigs that way. And
now you're practically a senior citizen at 19 and with the top dogs. Amazing. But killing it though.
Thank you. But yeah, as far as trouble, like sometimes venues give me an issue. I was supposed to do like a smaller headline show at a pretty prominent venue here in Brooklyn, and the promoter was like super keen on booking me, and then the venue was just like you can't have him. So but it's honestly more often than not that it doesn't matter. And
it's going to make them want you even more than when you turn 21. So
yeah.
That's sick. Yeah, you got to have a huge party.
Yeah, hopefully.
Big 21.
It's funny thinking back to the pandemic, because I think it hit everybody differently, and like there's a lot of negativity surrounding it. But so many artists I know, and so many producers, and even other people who've been on this show, they talk about that like through like all the negative aspects that came from it. They gave a lot of people a different path in their career to grow as artists. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's interesting. And then the other thing unpacking from that is I think you were the third person to bring up Animals by Martin Gyptrix as one of the songs that
really?
that like shaped them and made them want to go into EDM. And I personally love that song. I think it's a great song, but it's like it's a funny one because I think it was from another young producer, obviously, and somebody who's kind of coming up, and I think it really shaped a generation of EDM, house producers.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
Garrix for sure is like in a top.
It was it was Garrix. I was super into Garrix for a while. I really liked Cashmere with the whole like different like world instrument influence that sort of spoke to my interests. So. Yeah, crazy producer. Some of the very first like mixing things I ever learned were from his like tutorials on YouTube.
Oh, cool.
And then like obviously later on like Fisher and Camel Fat like in like 2017, 18 were kind of sparked like helped accelerate like my discovery of more underground house music and techno and that whole side of things. So
nice.
Yeah.
As you're so young, so I know when I was coming up, I was, I started at a young age as well. Like, have your parents been pretty like supportive of like this venture and stuff?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because like at first it was very, very much like a hobby, and they loved that I was doing stuff. They thought it was cool, but they didn't really think much else besides that. I knew that I wanted to do it as a career.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure, obviously like that or dance or whatever, but I knew that it was like definitely on the table.
Yeah.
And then over time, like I just got more and more serious about it. And there was like a period of like, of probably a year, 2 years where my parents were like hesitant because they saw how seriously I was taking it and they didn't necessarily take it as in the same way. But then I think it got beyond that to a point where like they saw that I was working really hard and making, significant progress and, building a team around myself and getting shows and putting out releases. And they saw, I think, also the reaction from some other people in the scene. And at that point, I think they really started to take it more seriously. And now they're fully on board, fully supporting.
Amazing.
So,
It's like every parent's worst nightmare. And go,
yeah,
I want to go to music school or be in the music industry.
yeah.
Like, get a real career.
It's funny because for me, I was always very like anti-education in the context of like formal education in the context of doing a career like this. I was never interested in like going to school to do this.
Right.
Which I think my parents respected because they were like, if you're going to go to school, you're not going to school just for music, So, and then I have many other interests. Like when I was applying to colleges, I like was looking at like different, even like STEM programs and foreign language stuff and all stuff all over the map. So
at least you get to keep your focus in.
Yeah.
And they've been supportive of that, which is really cool. So
definitely,
good on them for letting him do his thing.
yeah, I'm grateful for it. So
Yeah, that's sick.
How did, especially because you are, like not legally able to be in a lot of these clubs, how did the DJ progression start then? Because, you said you weren't able to network. Like, how did you end up finally diving into that world?
Well, it was always on the radar for me as something that I wanted to do because, like, growing up as a performer, like it's
part of the
connected
craft.
to that whole craft, yeah. And I always like desperately wanted to play shows. So starting in like middle school, I would like DJ my elementary school dances.
Oh shit! I started as my
nice.
elementary school
Yeah,
DJ.
yeah.
I love that.
And I got my parents to like buy for my fifth. It was in 5th grade, so I guess that was like my probably 10th birthday.
Yeah.
They bought me like that little DJ controller that they used to sell in the Apple store.
Okay.
The gray one.
Yeah.
And I had that, and I had a laptop for middle school, and like I would like show up to the elementary school, and I'd be like, hey, like, I'm a 6th grader now, like I'd love to DJ your dances. So they'd set me up in the cafeteria and just put me on, and I'd be playing stuff.
Sick.
And even then I was into electronic music, which didn't go over well with like the elementary school kids.
What did they want?
But they wanted like whatever like was popular at the time, like
Yeah.
Lil Yachty and like rap stuff and just
That makes sense.
random things. But then over time I started to get more into like DJing. Obviously started doing middle school dances as I got older, and then in high school it kind of took a pause where I was like no longer doing dances, but I obviously couldn't really play shows. So like I started throwing these parties with my friends, like later in high school, like basically right before the pandemic and then right after the pandemic lifted was like we would like rent out these venues, but tell them like not to like run the bar. Like we'd say like, hey, like we can fill the room with like this many kids. You can sell them drinks, just not alcoholic drinks. So it was like somewhere in between like an event and a bar mitzvah type of deal. But we did a bunch of those, and then like when I turned 18, I started doing like some more real shows. I reached out to Deep Root, and they put me on a show, and then just started doing things here and there, and then it grew from there. So
Amazing.
yeah.
Growing up in New York City, are there like a lot of house parties and stuff to go to? Because I feel like when you grow up in the suburbs, like those things
woods
happen
parties.
a lot more.
Yeah,
You go to the woods.
It was a weird
The woods.
situation, because like I had friends from the suburbs that were doing that, and I always thought it was so cool because like you can't really do the house parties here. People tried,
Right.
but since you're in an apartment, especially in like the neighborhoods that are residential and have families like Upper West Side and whatever, different neighborhoods, like the neighbors are really stringent on that stuff, and they'll call the cops, especially since it's underage kids.
Yeah, of course.
So there were a couple years of like, yes, there were house parties, and the concept of a night out was like you'd go to a house party, 10 minutes later it would get shut down, then you'd go to another house party 20 blocks away, and then it would get shut down, and it was like fun to be with your friends, but no, there was no real like house party.
You better
thing
make
growing
those
up.
first 3 tracks count.
Yeah, no, seriously. But then like, a little later on in high school, that's why we got the idea to do these like venue things.
Yeah, it's a really smart idea.
Yeah, and I think,
Entrepreneur as well, bam.
yeah, I think the largest one we did was like, we got almost 400 people. we sold them $20 tickets, and it was like me and two other kids. One kid was like at the door doing like, you know, the ticket scanning. I was like DJing the whole night, and then there was one kid as like a runner, making sure everything was good. And we just like collected cash at the door, and we turned a pretty good profit. So
Sick.
yeah,
That's awesome. So I guess at the moment you were mentioning that you probably can't mention in full detail, but you are signing some records and
yes,
now. That's very exciting. Glad to hear that's going well.
thank you.
Is there anything you can talk about for the next 6 months maybe you have coming up?
Well, I can say that I am likely gonna have another track out in, you know, before the end of the year.
Nice.
Not sure what label yet, but it's gonna be you know, a good release.
It's gonna
more
be a good
clubby.
one, I'm sure. Yeah.
And then my next release after that is gonna be February 23rd. Maybe I might have the date wrong, but February 20 something.
Nice.
23rd, that's a Friday. I have a release on that day.
Sick.
Yeah.
That's
That's also my birthday, so we can co-celebrate.
Oh, nice. But yeah, so that's all that's scheduled for now. But I have a ton of music, you know, up my sleeves, and we're just systematically sending out to some target labels and figuring out a release plan, getting some shows lined up. So
Awesome.
Do you have any big milestones of like places that you know you want to be in the next year? As far as like
Labels-wise?
shows you're playing, labels, all that kind of stuff.
shows wise, I mean, I have all the milestones. Within the next year, you know, being realistic, I think I just want to have either smaller headlines or direct support shows in some more of the U.S. touring markets.
Cool.
You know, LA, Chicago, Miami, just different markets that I want to hit. Dallas.
Yeah.
And then if I can make it outside the U.S. in any capacity, especially to Europe, that would be incredible.
Because you'd be allowed in those clubs.
Yeah, well, that's one. But two is just like,
Also, your sound fits very well in the European market, I feel like.
thank you. I think so as well. And,
Yeah.
and I think personality-wise, like I relate to the scene there a lot.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a lane that I want to delve into. And of course, it's, you know, it's hard to get established touring in a market that's so far away from where you live. But yeah, so those are kind of my immediate goals, shows-wise, and then labels-wise. You know, I'm pitching some stuff to Defected right now. That would be huge release. You know, nothing signed there yet, but it's always been big on
For
the
sure.
radar. Especially recently, I've been really into their label DFTD, which is like
Yeah.
more of like the classic like 909 sound. Additionally, like I'm sending some stuff to Solid Grooves. You know, more of that minimal stuff could be really cool.
Nice.
But overall, you know, I just want to like pack 2024 with as many releases as I can, do as many shows as I can, and then I think I'll be in a good spot. So
Nice, man. Any dream collabs?
dream collabs.
Not to put you on the spot, but you know, you
Gotta
can list
think
a
about
couple if
that.
you're like, oh, this would be sick or that would be sick.
I really like Mochak. As a person, I think he's awesome, and I relate to him a lot. His sound is really cool too.
Yeah.
Unique.
So, you know, I mean, I haven't seen production-wise, you know, I don't know whether he's like one of these like studio gods or whatever, but it would be super awesome to get in the studio with him, especially from the perspective of like, he's a dancer as well, and I'm sure that factors into his production process.
I heard
it
he has
production-
50 or so unreleased tracks already, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Damn.
for me, it factors into my production process. I know that like I can like feel the tracks almost like from a kind of a dance point of view. So I'd love to even just sit down and talk with him about that. But so that's one dream collab. I don't know. Yeah, ton of people, but
And can we get some dance content finally?
maybe. I mean,
I think that would be sick. It'd be
I
cool to
think,
see some of that.
yeah, I think I try to integrate it into like the live sets too, you know? Like
Yeah.
when I'm playing in front of a crowd, like try to be engaging and energetic, and I try to
Definitely,
dance, you know?
yeah, definitely energetic. in your
Because it's
sets.
the feeling of being on stage in a dance concert is like the almost exact same feeling that I get when I am playing a set live in front of a crowd. You know, it's like
For sure.
sort of a flow state feeling. And there's this interesting thing that I noticed where it's like, if you think about it too hard, it's like breathing. Like if you think about it too hard, it's like you forget how to do it almost.
Facts.
So it's the same feeling that I get from both dance performance and from the music. So yeah.
Nice. Any dance performance? Do you still do any of that stuff?
No, I stopped. I decided that I needed some time away from it after 15 years of basically nonstop
You got more exciting things
dancing.
So no, anyway. So
Yeah, but I definitely want to pick it back up again from just like a fitness perspective. It's like so great for you.
sure.
Secondly, just discipline and just mental clarity. It's like so helpful, and then it just helps with the stage presence as well. So
Amazing. I'm so impressed by that. I had no
Thank you.
idea that you were into all that stuff.
Don't forget to tune in. Link below. He's going to go ahead and rock a epic 30-minute set, which I'm a big fan of your DJ sets. Any songs you got in mind for the set that's coming up?
I'm probably gonna play some unreleased stuff.
Okay,
so,
fire.
yes.
Hit him with them IDs.
Yeah.
We're going to get a full 30-minute IDs only.
Maybe not, but there will definitely be some IDs in there. So.
Excited to hear them. Yeah. Do you want to tell everybody where they can reach you on social media and keep up with your shows and your releases?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram, Malcolm Zeller, MalcolmZeller. And that's the same as my Spotify, my SoundCloud, TikTok, everything. Yeah, you can find me at any social media platform under that name. So
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure chatting and learning so many interesting things about you.
Thank you.
And excited to see what's coming next for you next year.
Definitely, for sure.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Well, I'm Rich Furniss.
And I'm Lefty. Thank you for tuning in. Peace.